How do we get AI into the hands of the talent that is sitting in energy today and provide the upskilling and the support so that our talent can start being successful with AI towards their job?
I'm Carolyn Parrs, communicator, coach, and host of Just Power, a podcast about creating a clean energy future without leaving anyone behind. Join me as we explore the technologies, policies, and human stories that can make clean energy not just sustainable for our planet, but accessible for everyone. Welcome to Just Power. Hi, I'm Carolyn. The electric grid is being asked to do more today than it ever was designed for. Powering AI, data centers, electrifying homes, new manufacturing, clean energy, all the while keeping energy as affordable and reliable as possible. That is a tall order. And my guest today knows this better than anyone. She's the recognized thought leader on digital grid transition. Hanna Grene is the global go-to-market and operations leader for energy at Microsoft. And we'll be talking about what it means to rethink the grid for this next era. How can AI help us see and use systems differently, right? And what will it take to build an energy system that works for everyone? So welcome, Hanna.
Thank you for having me, Carolyn. I'm so delighted to be here.
Same here. So we all know that the electric grid is under pressure from many directions. So where you sit, Hanna, right? Where do you see AI genuinely changing how we see and operate the grid? And where are expectations running ahead of actual reality?
Absolutely. Well, even before we get to the grid, I think it's important to think about where AI is starting to interface and change the way we operate as an energy industry, because the grid sits within that entire context. It is the heart of any utility system and of how we relay power to customers, but there's a broader operation that sits around it. And so we're seeing AI today show up in really five big places in that operation.
Okay.
The first is in just talent skilling, and that's supporting employees who are potentially at the front line, including our field crews, but also employees that work on supply chain, employees that work in planning, employees that work in HR, folks that sit at desks, folks that are also out in the field, and using AI to help them do their jobs more effectively. So these are use cases from, just streamlining the admin out of your work and
Totally. It's changing my life, in my industry, it's everywhere. So that's huge.
Yes, and with so many subject matter experts being asked to solve so many big problems, how do we boil down that overhead cost of just doing your job and collaborating every day? So employee productivity is definitely an area where we've seen AI travel very quickly with our energy customers and partners. And the other piece beyond that is health and safety use cases. And so using AI for greater visibility and awareness on job sites to ensure that when you're out on a truck roll, you have the information you need at your fingertips to support that truck roll effectively. And that also what you're seeing or working on a project site is also being communicated back across the three other siloed teams that are supporting you and you being effective there. So all of that boils into employee productivity, but in the energy industry, health and safety is the bottom line and the most important place where we protect and support our people. And so that's a really essential first pillar of this equation.
Right.
The next place is with customers. We've had a long way to improve how we support our customers in energy.
I'm really excited to hear about that because I've seen it. It's a little antiquated, right? But AI can change the game there.
Absolutely. And, whether this is in a call center experience and helping utility call centers have the right information that's highly accurate, that's detailed so that they can interface with a customer more effectively, to giving utilities the connected data chain and the generative AI capabilities to communicate with customers and be able to say, your time to restore power is X. We have work crews in your area, and give people an interface where they can have a conversation and get the details.
Real-time conversation.
Exactly. So, all the way down to billing, all the way down to better prosumer offers and better tariff offers. If we can see from the data that you suddenly have a large energy spike overnight, we might assume you have an EV and get you on a better rate plan and a potentially even a broader prosumer package to support you with solar battery to support your EV needs. So those are all opportunities for a better, more cohesive customer experience. And AI is definitely an accelerant and a powerful mover on that.
Is this happening right now, or is this like coming down the pike? It is? Okay.
Everything I've been talking about, this is happening. This is in production, in operation, and I would say with the industry leaders, it's now at scale. So these are the areas where we've seen really, really rapid growth and opportunity. The third one, and this gets a little wonky into business process, but it's streamlining business process and business operations. Right now, as an industry, in most big companies, you have a few big platforms where people are doing their work. And those platforms don't necessarily communicate. And the data might even be in different data formats. So you're sort of hunting and pecking for information, both in the sense that one siloed team in a company might need 6 stakeholders from 6 other teams to get to a decision or find their information. But even on the back end, we might be blocking. AI is only as good as the data that serves it. And we might be blocking you having the right company insights because you need data points from 3 or 4 different systems. And so we are using some of our software capabilities, some of our backend data platforms, things like what we have at Microsoft is called Fabric, to get you that cohesive data layer across your different systems of record, or what we would call your different data estates, where the big brains of your company are being stored, but potentially underutilized. And how do we improve business processes to be more streamlined and to connect to the right data at the right time so that you're surfacing real insights and not fragments of insights?
And this is also with departments like, let's just say, communications and government affairs and customer service, all being able to really in real time have access, right, to the information they need.
And an important caveat there, the right people having access to the right information at the right time.
Yeah.
So there's a governance wrapper that goes around this. You need business decision makers to be able to get insights from their data, not just more data.
Yeah.
But you need to make sure that data is in the hands of the right people. And that requires work on AI governance. It requires work on, do you have high fidelity data in your enterprise? Like I said, this gets a little wonky. This is where, we sort of pull out our picks and shovels and work closely with our customers on setting up the right foundations, both for their data environments that support their AI outcomes, but also from a business process standpoint. Do you have governance? Are your AI use cases aligned to your business strategy so that we're lining up the right systems, both with all of the above, with people, with process, and with the technology? So those first 3 areas, I would say if you're not working across those 3 planes as part of your company strategy today, where AI and data are enablers, you're a little bit behind.
That sounds like foundational to me, right? It's like where you jump off of, right? You need this in place before we go to the next level.
Right. So these are the 3 areas where we've just seen massive acceleration on those 3. The next is the biggest for the industry, and it's asset optimization. And so all things grid fall under this, all things power production and power optimization fall under this. I would even put a lot of our planning capabilities under this too. And it's, I always start with the business strategic goal and we work backward from there, because technology is not a goal. Technology is an important tool in your toolbox. But what you want to achieve, are we optimizing all of the assets that we have today and using them effectively and improving our resilience, improving our safety, and improving the utilization of our capital infrastructure.
So give me an example of grid, like a real lives. You don't have to mention names, but like a grid what optimizing would be in a certain category from this to that, right?
Yeah. So we'll start on the optimization end, and then we can talk about as you optimize what you have, are you also building the right stuff for the future you need? Because this touches both.
Right.
And so on the optimization front, we've done some work with a few different grid operators around the globe to understand what is the demand on your system. What are your customer demands today? What are your forecasted customer demands? Some of the stuff we've done in real time is stand up very large AI models to understand at a sub-second level interval at a 50 or 60 hertz, depending on where you are in the globe, what is being demanded from your consumers on the grid, and then what is the supply that you have available to match that demand. Being able to see that information in real time, that's a very large high performance computing exercise that we do. That's not a model you want to run forever, but you stand it up, you run it for a period of time, and you understand your system better. Based on that feedback, how could you be improving and streamlining your operations? How could you be more efficient with the resources that you have on your system today? So that would be one example. Another would be some phenomenal work we've done with our partners at Schneider Electric. They have a distributed energy resource management system, or DERMS system, that is available in the Azure cloud, architected in our cloud. That's a digital DERMS system. Even just apart from the AI components, which enable you to be smarter about optimizing with your customers and even chatting with that ADMS data, which they have available through their Grid AI assistant. Just that DERMS being in the cloud and being digital, you can deploy that much, much faster than traditional on-premise capabilities. It's more scalable and it's more flexible to the quickly changing regulatory environments that we are in today, as well as being secure and fully aligned to the security standards of asset operations, but in the cloud. So these are areas where the conversation has really moved from digital being IT to digital infrastructure. And for us to operate as an industry with the vast portfolio of resources, the complexity of the prosumer engagement, more and more renewable assets online, we have to be much more real time. We have to be much more integrated across transmission and distribution with the different players, whether you're in a retail environment or you just need that closer proximity and communication with your customers. The old systems don't work anymore. It's much more nodal, much more real time, and it requires a reimagining of digital infrastructure.
Yeah. I've experienced this recently. I had a potential outage and it covers the whole area. I drilled down a little bit, and when I called them, they told me that my house, where I was specifically, would not be affected by this outage, that was a planned outage. And I thought, they'd never been able to do that before, right? It's like, good luck. And it was in real time. And then they were texting me all along the way on a personalized level. So I was like, there's AI happening here.
And digital grid, and bearing the two together. So there's just so much opportunity for using the assets we have. We don't talk about energy efficiency much anymore, but grid optimization is energy efficiency.
Yeah.
Are we
a new word
flexibly with the resources we have, and do we have the right data and the right systems for the multi-stakeholder, multiplayer game that is managing an advanced grid today? And I did want to point out, the other side of asset optimization is, are we investing and building the right resources for the grid we're building for the future? And I get really, really excited about what we're doing in this space, particularly with AI. we've released our information about our permitting AI accelerator. We started in nuclear. Now we're using this accelerator for solar, for wind, and we're expanding it more broadly for generation, but also just infrastructure use cases, because we're in a build moment. And when you look at what it takes to get energy infrastructure online and more carbon-free electrons online, permitting is sort of the valley of death of too many projects, or the valley of
That is
delay.
true.
Valley of death, the valley of delay, and we're in an interesting and challenging supply chain market today, and time costs money, and we're also all having a conversation about affordability. And so how do we find those places in the delivery of energy where we can be more streamlined on time, more streamlined on cost, and get more electrons and more carbon-free electrons on the grid faster? So this permitting AI accelerator we've released from Microsoft is a tool to do that. We are very excited that it's now picked up and being used by industry.
A lot of solar companies will love you for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And as I said, we started in nuclear, because if you can do this for one of the most challenging assets to permit, it's now proving reusable more broadly. But there's an element here too that I wanted to call out that is a little more future looking, and something I'm just personally very excited about. Microsoft has capabilities that we've built out for climate and weather modeling. This includes our Microsoft Aurora model, as well as our in-house weather and AI weather capabilities for forecasting weather. And energy runs on weather. We are a heavily impacted industry by what is going on in the natural environment. And so this is an area where we are supporting our customers with more advanced AI modeling, weather predictive capabilities, climate predictive capabilities for the assets that they have today, and at more and more granular levels, at the asset level even, and doing microclimate forecasts. But we're also looking at ways that we can take our different models and think about the forward look of climate and climate changes. Because as we're building transmission infrastructure, new substations, new generation plants, what environment are we building them in? And if we're not thinking about what that environment looks like in 10 and in 15 and 20 years, is that space a flood threat today? Maybe or maybe not. But have we stopped and considered if it's in a flood risk zone 10 years from now? Have we stopped and considered if it's in a space that's evolving towards more wildfire and heat zone risks?
Yeah.
And so climate informed planning, this is an area where I think we can be much more forward as an industry, because we invest in 20 and 30-year assets. We have no problem running the economics and modeling those over time. But are we thinking a life cycle of the asset over that time? We do a lot with historical data for forecasting, but we can be much, much more predictive. And that's something that I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's huge right there, right? Especially with climate shifts that we're experiencing in wildfires. So what role should AI play in that planning? And does the human judgment, right, or the historical data that we've had in the past, weather data, matter still?
Yeah, well, to me, the human matters in all of this, period. And we, broadly, when we think about where we're applying AI to the energy industry, we're enabling the workforce with AI, not removing the workforce with AI.
That's something that some people don't agree with. Okay. So say more to that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's why
they're shifting it, but it's because some jobs are being left behind, right, that are being taken over by AI. And then there's other things that are arising, right, along the way. So in the energy industry.
Just from a macro perspective in energy, everything is yes and. I don't know a single customer or partner of mine that has the talent that they need to go deliver on what's sitting on their desk to deliver today. And we are not a shrinking industry. We are a growth industry. And it's why I started with, for us, the the areas that we have been able to move most effectively and most quickly with customers and partners is how do we get AI into the hands of the talent that is sitting in energy today, and provide the upskilling and the support so that our talent can start being successful with AI towards their jobs, and in some cases get them back to the root of their job, the part of their job that is exciting to them and where their subject matter expertise
where they're not doing the rest of the things that are grunt work, right? Or other, right. Yeah.
Or process work.
Yeah.
We all spend a lot of time in process. And so how do we...
So AI makes work fun again, is what I'm hearing you say.
I certainly have experienced that in my own work. And it does force you to be more creative and to rethink your own processes, because you have to, instead of jumping into the spreadsheet, you have to sort of pause and rethink about how to use the tools at your disposal. But, broadly, we need to skill up our workforce to utilize AI. We need to tap in to our talented workforce. I hate the narrative that utilities aren't a place of innovation. I think we are.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that, right?
Yeah, I think we are completely a place of innovation, and there are folks in every utility I work with that have entrepreneurial ideas, that have innovation ideas, and AI is an opportunity to tap into those and to work as a company to align what are your strategic goals as an enterprise, and how can your teams tap into AI to support that?
I think there's a lot of innovation happening right now, Hanna, right? There is, but in traditional, not necessarily Microsoft type businesses, right? Large corporations like that, but in our traditional utilities, the way they've done things for maybe 30 years has stayed the same because it's worked and there wasn't much change happening. Now there is, and your company is known for innovation. That's your middle name, right? And you're to me bringing it to the maybe more traditional utilities that we rely on every day. So innovation, I'm not saying innovation can't happen there, but reliability is premier, right? And it's sometimes those two things, right, can butt up against each other. Make sense on that?
Yeah, and two parts on that, Carolyn. The first off, the way I view my team and our role is that we are partners to energy customers, whether that be a power generation company, a utility company. We are partners to you in your technology adoption journey. And how can we support your corporate strategies and be a technology partner to you in achieving them? I have wonderful conversations with utility executives who say, I know my people need to learn this. It feels daunting. We're very busy delivering on capital execution and internal operations. Break this down, fit this into our culture, fit this into our learning. We are partners to this industry and figuring that out and in being on this journey with you and in helping make you successful. Microsoft and our ecosystem of partners that work with us and build on our platforms to do that. And so that's very much our role. We don't want to do, I hate the idea of somebody sort of foisting technology onto an enterprise, because technology becomes exciting when it's in the hands of people who are empowered and are given the creative space and opportunities to put it to work. And so that's the other piece of this equation is, utilities have to hold up safety and reliability, period. That is the job. And we are missing an opportunity as an industry if we don't tap in to the phenomenal expertise, ideas, and mission passion of our workforce.
Right. I love that. Yeah.
We create these spaces. We need to create these spaces where there's safety and containment in, an AI center of excellence, an AI sandboxing part of the enterprise. We've done both of those with many different companies. We've done hackathons with companies where there is a space and leadership is communicating innovation is important. We need your bright ideas. We're going to give you the time and the space to learn and utilize these tools and to tap into what you know and help us all go faster. We need to be mindful that the answers don't always come from the outside. And so how do we equip and give the space and the time and the learning and the opportunity to our internal talent so that
so you're working directly with them in this way inside,
yep.
right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
And
I would love to be a fly on the wall there, just saying. Okay.
To your point, like innovation is fun, and you have to have those safe spaces where there's trust, where there's clarity that we're one team and we're trying to achieve that together. That's where the magic happens. And, part of what you're hearing from me, Carolyn, is we don't have to look to the outside to tell us. I think so many of the answers come from within or from a trusted group of partners. And you don't need 100 use cases to get started with AI. You need clarity on your own business strategy.
Okay.
And you need the right partners to help you get there. And AI is a tool.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. That is, it's innovating the whole industry, frankly, how they do, not just like the tool of the technology, but how you do it, right, from the inside out. So I love that. And there are a lot of smart people inside of great utilities. I've met a few of them. So I love that. Yeah. So there's a lot of focus right now for adding clean energy, right? Renewables, storage, EVs, electrification. Our whole last show, right before your show, Hanna, was about clean energy for data centers. We talked about that the whole time. So from an AI perspective, how do you meet the challenges of integrating, let's say, carbon-free power at scale without compromising reliability, and talk cost as well, right? So how at Microsoft, how do you look at that?
Well, but first, from a Microsoft perspective, we have stayed consistent to our own climate commitments and climate goals. They became harder as we scaled up our own AI operations because our commitments around carbon-free energy purchasing got larger. But I'm very proud to be part of a company that has continued to drive this as part of our leadership, as part of our focus, and as part of how we engage as stakeholders in the communities where we operate. And so we had a goal to reach 100% carbon-free energy across our energy usage by 2025. And we met that goal. So that's been a really important part, I would say, of the Microsoft story. Now, where do we go from here? We have bold 2030 and 2050 goals to continue reducing our own carbon emissions, even to go carbon negative for the removal of all historical emissions by 2030. These are not easy things to solve. And I think another important part of our story is that we don't plan to solve them alone. It is not, Microsoft's not going to go out and invent, a new battery type. But can we provide the quantum computing as we did with PNNL so that they can discover a new long duration storage mix and chemistry mix? And the answer there is absolutely. And so we think that this story of, how are we solving this challenge of getting more carbon-free energy online and supporting a grid that is going to have a more and more complicated energy mix behind it. We think we have a part in that story as a large buyer and as a partner to the energy industry and in being a large customer. And then through my team's lens, which is how can we put our technology tools to bear to support this? And I mentioned our work in permitting. I mentioned some of our work with some of the controls providers like Schneider Electric. We also have partners with grid enhancing technology companies. I'll shout out Line Vision, who is one of those grid enhancing DLR companies today as well. And so there are different roles that we can play there, but those are a few of them.
So what responsibility do you think that large technology companies like Microsoft have when their tools shape the decisions that affect our grid, affordability, reliability, and even equity?
From an AI tool perspective, we have a commitment to responsible AI as Microsoft, and we work with all of our customers to ensure that they also have their own internal commitments to responsible AI. It's something we broadly encourage. So to ensure that if you are building or using or deploying AI, that they are aligned to the right standards for ethics, for fairness, for security, and for usability. So that's more on the use of the tool side. And I'm happy to share our responsible AI guidelines, because you don't need to remake the wheel here. There's some great standards, but it is really important if you are in a leadership position to make sure that this is a conversation that you're having as an executive team, and that you have the appropriate responsible AI and governance within your own organization. On the infrastructure side of the equation, I'm delighted to call out the Community First AI Infrastructure announcement that Microsoft made in January. It's a 5-part plan that we announced to ensure that there is clarity and that it is broadly understood that we'll pay our way to ensure that data centers do not increase electricity prices. We also have commitments to minimize our water use and to replenish more of the water than we use. We have a commitment to support the communities that we land in with job creation and opportunity, to be a meaningful addition to the tax base in a way that supports the community, and to invest in the broader AI journey, including training and local engagement around AI. When we put our infrastructure in a community, it's a marriage. We're going to be there for a long time. And I'm so pleased and really proud of Microsoft to put out this Community First AI infrastructure plan. I hope it is followed by our competition, our partners, others behind us, because when we invest, it's something the energy industry knows far more than tech. When you are investing in building an infrastructure and you have a footprint in a community, you are in the service of that community, and it is incumbent upon you to invest and be a fruitful part of that community. And I'm really pleased that we're going to take a stance on that, and it will only ensure tighter alignment, I think, between how we show up with our data centers and the utilities, who also work very closely to serve their own communities.
Yeah, I read that on LinkedIn. I'm going to put that in our show notes, that article, because it's very impressive, and I hope others will follow. So if we fast forward 10 years from now, Hanna, right, and the grid succeeds, right, it looks different from it does today, what do you think, what capabilities matter most? And what choices do we need to make today so that we don't have to undo it tomorrow? Do you know, because everything's shifting so much so. So what is that?
Well, I want to point out a few leaders in this space that have taken big steps and are doing great work, because they show us the direction of travel. So first, we have a phenomenal partnership with MISO, and we'll be pleased to share the recent press release that they made with you and your listeners. But being an ISO, you are right at the crux of so many of these interesting challenges. How do we optimize the system we already have? How do we support and enable new resources to come online, faster interconnect? How do we become an agent of faster simulation and planning? Because we're in a multi-stakeholder environment, and MISO has really stepped up in an industry leadership role here. And we are so excited about what they are doing with their own digital footprint and technologies. And I think can serve as a model to other market operators globally. I also want to shout out a partner of ours, Think Labs AI, which is an exciting growth company. And some announcements that we recently made with them in Southern California, Edison, using AI and utility data, which is so massively under-tapped, and putting those together to support faster planning. As Southern California Edison builds back after the wildfires and gets their customers repowered, gets that infrastructure back into place as fast and as safely and as hardened for the future as they can. Think Labs has been using time series power flow analytics to simulate both distribution and sub-transmission network models, and to understand the broader system impacts of this new planning. And so taking an old problem, planning and rebuilding infrastructure, applying AI technologies and new ways of working to make it faster and better. These are the models that we can be learning from. And so I would shout them out as a leading partner and a leading customer in this space. When I think bigger, long-term, this asset optimization space, or more broadly, industrial AI, how are we taking the high volume of data that is produced on our networks and by our generation, by our assets, and put it to work to be more predictive, to put it to work to help us be smarter about how we're operating and caring for a system? Not only will this help us make better decisions around O&M, which will support affordability, it will help us make a smarter decision about every capital dollar, which will make the system more valuable and more resilient in the future. And so these are the places where, as we get further up the adoption chain, we are really excited about where AI plays in assets. And I know that this is a challenging conversation for part of our industry, because you get concerned about automation and you get concerned about security. And so knowing that what we're talking about is tooling to help our operators, an analogy I use a lot is we've set our operators up to fly a biplane in bad weather, highly manual controls, bad visibility.
Yeah, seems like it sometimes.
Right. And when you think about the technology in a jet fighter and what a pilot does, they are supervising a highly automated, computerized system. How do we start to think about our future as being highly digital, highly real time, with very rich contextualized data that we can communicate with voice, with a hardened machine out in the field on the edge, or here sitting at our desks with our keyboards? But how can we communicate with that highly contextualized data and be in a much more real-time and data-rich environment? How do we make our folks jet fighter pilots and Top Gun with all the technology that they need at their fingertips, performing cohesively to operate a highly complex system? And that requires that up-leveling, that upskilling, those data foundations, but also a lot of clear communication around the use cases and where we're supporting operators with AI, and ensuring that we are architecting with zero trust first and in all we do, so that we're not leaving that opportunity behind because of fear. We're tackling that fear with facts and with clarity and with the right governance and security principles behind us.
That's a great analogy. I like that. Except it's happening on the ground, and giving them the tools and for a more just advanced and complex system. So I just want to, before we wrap up, I have to ask about, which you touched on a bit, is this whole cybersecurity, right? Because if it's all in the cloud, it's all this data, all right, I know that's a concern because we're all connected too through the grid. So just speak to that a bit, like what's maybe what you're hearing from utilities on the concerns of that and how you meet them in this data age, digital data age we're in.
Absolutely. I think, you'll sense this theme for me. We have to understand what we are trying to achieve. And as we think about the next generation of whether it be control systems or things like virtual power plants and DERMS and creating more flexibility at the edge of our customers, what are we trying to achieve? What are the right tools we have to achieve it? I think starting from a position of this worked yesterday is never helpful. And so we have to be forward minded. What are we trying to achieve? What do we want to achieve it? Cybersecurity is non-negotiable in how we achieve it. But you have to be forward looking about your goals. And if you want to be operating a more complex system with better efficiency, better optimization, greater scalability, reduced O&M and improved capital allocation, you're going to need new tool sets. And without a doubt, with the use of AI, you are going to be bringing more of your data sets into the cloud. We can't do AI in these complex AI use cases. They're not happening on premise. They're happening with your data in the cloud. And so then we get into a discussion about, again, that governance, what data where in the cloud and who has appropriate access to it. And we architect for security. For real-time operations, largely, it is not coming into the cloud. We are going to be looking at hybrid scenarios where there's some core operations on premise.
Okay.
There is data that is not part of the real-time control loop in the cloud, and that is supporting us with decision-making. There's also training and sandboxing in the cloud. There's insights off of that data in the cloud. And then there are systems, broadly anything outside of real-time control that can be fully in the cloud. And it's about architecting for the right security, the right governance, and again, the right outcomes that you need as a business. And so, in any of these conversations, I'm always going to point to what do we want to achieve? Nobody in the room is going to be having a conversation that's not about security. Security first and zero trust in anything we do is non-negotiable. Those are table stakes. And then aligning, one of the massive benefits of Microsoft is if you took away everything else we did, we'd be the world's largest cybersecurity company. We are deeply invested in cybersecurity. And so bringing the right expertise to bear to work with our customers to map out, what are the ways that we're going to meet and align to your security goals and meet the outcomes. That's the work we do together.
Okay. So that's kind of base level anyway, right? That's where you begin. So
it's non-negotiable.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So in closing, right, if you could leave one message for utility leaders who feel excited yet overwhelmed, there's a lot here, overwhelmed by the possibilities, what would you want, that person to understand about what it would take to build an energy system that actually works for everyone?
Yeah. Well, I don't have one thing, but I have a few things.
Okay. You can say them all.
Yeah. The first is we're here to help. Okay. Nobody's going to figure this out alone. The role of my team is to be in the service of and alongside with our customers and partners in unpacking this with you and helping you achieve this in your enterprise. And so don't go it alone is first.
Okay.
The second is don't wait. I still do hear occasionally, well, we're going to study this and work with an outside consultant to line up 50 use cases, and then we'll talk about it in a year. That is not the speed of execution we are living in right now. So get started. And you can get started by skilling up your people and giving them AI tools like Copilot at their desks today to build that baseline level of usage and create value in your enterprise today with AI. So don't get left behind, get started, and get started with your people and getting AI into their hands to be productive. And then on these broader use cases, don't have I'm going to be a bit glib, but don't have an AI strategy. Have a business strategy, and we will help you put AI to work to achieve that strategy. It is not a pilot. It is not something that lives in a separate part of your organization. Every chief officer, every SVP, every VP, AI needs to be in your toolkit and how you are leading and how you're managing and how you're executing. And and it's not a sideshow. It's the future of your career and your enterprise. And so thinking about how you make it part of how you deliver on your strategy is going to be what sets you up for success.
Awesome. That probably helps a lot, not having to figure out the AI thing, but bringing in a partner to help you use AI, right, for your business strategy and your goals, is what I heard you
Absolutely.
say. So, wow, this was a lot, Hanna, right? This is like a whole other level of thinking about our grid. I think it's going to be unrecognizable in 10 years, right? We're going to see so many changes for the better, and obviously complexities along the way that we're going to have to figure out. But I have a very strong feeling that they're in good hands with your company, with Microsoft. And you've been around. I've been tracking Microsoft for many years, even on your environmental goals. You're a leader, right? I've seen it before all the other tech companies jumped in. So I have a lot of respect for what you do and how you do it. I so enjoyed our conversation. How can people learn more about you and your work and get in touch with you if they have a burning question or they want to get going?
Find me on LinkedIn. I like to share the exciting work that my team is doing, and broadly that our energy teams at Microsoft are doing. So come find me on LinkedIn. That's a great place to engage. And Carolyn, thank you so much for hosting this conversation. Everything that we've discussed today has this red thread through it, which is this is a team sport. And energy is the fuel that enables AI across industries, the AI outcomes of healthcare, the AI outcomes of retail, the AI outcomes of our public sector, and beyond. And we need energy to support AI to deliver on what it can deliver for the world. But energy needs AI too. And I can't think of a time when technology and energy companies have needed to be closer. And it's an exciting time to be at that bridge.
Yes. Thank you so much. You're brilliant. So as we wrap up, what stands out to me is that the grid that we're building right now isn't just about AI or technology. It's about choices. These choices that we make, how we plan, who we listen to, who we partner with, how we balance speed with trust, right? And whether we design systems that not only work for people, and not just markets, but they work for people as well. That's so important. And that's one of our big goals and our visions and our values here on Just Power. So conversations like this matter a lot because the grid we need next will be shaped not just by any single company or tool, right? But how seriously we address these questions together. So if this conversation was exciting to you or resonated with you, please subscribe to Just Power and share it with someone who's working on the grid of the future right now. I bet you know who that person is, because the systems we build now will shape everyday life for decades to come. Because as always, you know this, we are all in this together. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to Just Power wherever you get your podcasts. And if you really loved it, leave us a review and tell everyone you know about our podcast. It's going to take all of us to create a clean energy future that leaves no one behind.